Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another high-grade Build Divers review, and today I'm taking a look at this right here. And of course, it's the Galbaldy Rebake. As always, if you want one of your own, then check out that link in the description and get yours at Hobbylink Japan. Right out of the box, all I can say is this is definitely an awesome take on the Galbaldy Beta from Mobile Suit Zeta Gundam. This really is one big hefty mobile suit. With this design, Bandai have taken what was a fairly generic looking Zeta grunt suit and made something that looks ridiculously cool. The rebake aspect comes from this right here, which is the Gundam Gusion Rebake from Mobile Suit Gundam Iron-Blooded Orphans. So if you want to see a review of that, you can find that down there in the description. Of course, the only actual color they have in common is that light beige, as the Galbaldy Rebake has replaced those oranges with yellow, the whites with a kind of light mocha color, and the black with that dark brown. Also, while speaking of the colors, the color accuracy on this thing is fantastic. And as well as that, we also have those varying textures we've been seeing a lot lately with these kits. For example, the high gloss of the light beige, the fairly glossy mocha, and those browns are all a semi-matte, which all look great in contrast to each other. As for panel lines, we've got some really nice ones on the shoulder as well as up on the head. The general detail on this kit is very nice and the molds are extremely sharp. These look fantastic. As for the actual color accuracy and the stickers, it's not so bad. Sticker-wise, what we get in here is nothing compared to what we saw with the rebakes of the past. Number one there with the blacks, therefore the mono eye section up there, which does look really good. 4 and 5, the yellows are up there on the shoulders. Honestly, I find that these don't even stand out that much compared to the actual yellow segments on it, especially if you panel line those in black to match. That's not so bad at all. The worst offenders, I would say, are 7 and 8 up there, which are a total throwback to the high-grade Barbatos, as they're pretty much those big power icon shoulder things that we saw before. They could be a lot worse. Definitely not as bad as the Barbatos. As for the differences between this and the Galbaldy Beta, that's actually really easy to show, because essentially you do get a lot of, if not all of, the original parts in here. Whoops. So as you can see, the feet are much bigger. The only difference is this little segment here, which looks exactly like the one here, but it's just missing this little part on the back. So this is what the standard Galbaldy Beta's legs will look like without this big panel stuck onto the back of them. The front skirting armor on the Rebake is much bigger than that of the original. The same goes for the butt flap. There is the original Galbaldy chest, obviously missing this little circular part in there. The Rebake's shoulders are much bigger. The forearms are essentially the same except for the addition of the Knuckle Guard there. And of course the head has been completely overhauled. Finally, as for a size comparison, there it is beside the Gundam 00 Diver, the Gundam Gusion Rebake, and the Gundam Gusion Rebake Full City. Moving on to the articulation, and on the side of the box, Bandai boasted, and I quote, "a wide range of joint motions." This doesn't necessarily say the articulation is good, and that's kinda exactly what we got. When I saw it first, I'm like, this is a big, bulky Zeta grunt. The articulation can't be good, and what we actually get is kinda in between. It's great in some aspects and bad in some others. As for the head, there it is all the way up and down, and it doesn't get a whole lot because of that massive chin. A bit of side-to-side tilt, and you can get a spin there all the way around. The shoulders are the most impressive joint. They can pop all the way out like this to extend the range of motion. So all in all, we've out like that. There it is all the way up. Of course, we have a second joint in here so the arm can raise up by itself. This shoulder joint is incredibly impressive. There it is popping all the way out to the front. That can move around inside of the shoulder as well. That gives you a whole lot of articulation there. That is impressive. I mean, seriously, look at this shoulder action. This pops out like so, and that can bring the entire arm over the chest like that. A lot of times this is something a lot of Gunpla struggles to do, so that right there is extremely impressive. As well as that, we've got the spin all the way around. We've got two little brown flap sections here. They can move independently down as well as up. That's pretty cool. As I said already, this arm can move in here, separate to the shoulder joint, and this is the first Gundam I've seen, maybe ever, that does not have any rotation up here whatsoever. Instead, it's limited to down here, and this elbow joint right here is an absolute nightmare. So like I said, the rotation is in there, but if you rotate that enough, that happens. So this is a really flawed design. I'm going to reassemble it now so you can see. So this little section, that pops in there, and then that's just capped with this little section here. So all that's holding it together is that tiny little peg. So if I was going to recommend one thing to do with this kit, one thing to save you a lot of hassle, is to make sure to glue that carefully into the section there so that you don't end up gluing the whole joint in place, just enough to hold it there and there in. Otherwise, that will keep popping out and causing you so much trouble. Besides that then, the bend at that joint is just a 90-degree bend. So much for a wide range of motion, but then again, this is a grunt suit, so that can be forgiven. As for the wrist, it's your standard ball and socket, so it's just kind of that as well as rotation. And as for the waist joint, this is something that's been seen in at least 3 Zeta kits so far, and that's a waist joint that's angled like this, which pops in there like so. So that is pretty cool and does give you quite a bit of articulation here at the waist. Not a whole lot, but it is double jointed as we have another joint in there. So that does mean we have some forward and back like that, as well as side to side, but not really as much as you would expect from such an extremely well-designed waist. Of course, we also have rotation all the way around. Of course, over at this arm, we do have the Knuckle Guard, which just flips down over the fist like that. As for the skirting armor at the front, they can move up as well as down. This is kind of an odd design as it can only go as far as there, but you can kind of pull it a little bit further so it can click past that like this. Otherwise, you'll get absolutely nothing out of the hip joint. That side skirt, a little bit of up and down, not a lot, as well as a swing forward and back, but it's all quite limited. And as usual at the butt flap, we've got absolutely nothing. There is the kick all the way up to the front, which isn't too bad when you have that side skirt out of the way. Out to the side, and as this doesn't go up very far, you're going to get blocked around there. Not that you'd be wanting a whole lot more than that. Also, this section here where they're all attached does feature a bit of a side to side rocking mechanism. In here we do have almost full rotation, but it is blocked by this little section here. So that does make some kicked up to the front poses look a little bit awkward as you cannot bring this leg out. Not the worst, but a little bit irritating. There is the bend at the knee, and that is pretty nice. With that amount of armor, you can't complain. And last up then, and definitely the weakest joint in the entire thing, is the ankle joint. You really cannot get anything out of this whatsoever. But this thing has barely any pivot, which means if you spread its legs at all and try to bring these in for any kind of dynamic pose, well, you're shit out of luck. At the end of the day, the articulation is a mix of good and bad. But in all honesty, the only real bad joint is the ankles down here. Besides that, it's pretty damn good for such a bulky kit. So moving on to accessories, and there is the Galbaldy Rebake with everything that it comes with. Well, not necessarily everything. As well as all of those leftover Galbaldy Beta parts, we also get the Galbaldy Beta's beam rifle as well as its beam rifle holding hand. So this isn't mentioned on the box, so this is a complete extra remaining from the Galbaldy Beta kit, so that's pretty cool. A full weapon and holding hand, that's pretty awesome. As for the weapons, first up is the hammer pliers, which is an absolutely awesome weapon. Definitely this right here is an iron-blooded orphan's weapon through and through. Completely reminiscent of some weapons like the wrench mace, as well as the Gusion Rebake Full City's scissors. Honestly, this thing is big and badass. Awesome weapon. Next up then is the howitzer, and this is literally just a big slab of a cannon that flips forward over the shoulder like that. That's it. And when I say this thing is big, I mean it. It's as long as the 00 diver is tall. It's huge. Next up then is the shield. This is just 3 parts of beige plastic. Pretty simple, and that just pops onto the back of the arm like so. Lastly then is the beam rifle that was included on the runner for the Galbaldy Beta. That has a manipulator there with an extended trigger finger for holding it. So it definitely is pretty cool to get an unexpected extra in the box. So after much deliberation, I've decided to give this thing right here a Mecha Gaikotsu Gold Dokuro. It looks absolutely epic. Besides those joints in the elbows, it is solid as a rock. Glue those, and this thing is a tank. The colors are great, the plastics look fantastic. It has an incredibly awesome weapon. What more could you want? The only real drawback for me is that ankle articulation. It's so damn bad. If that was better, this thing would be absolutely perfection. And you also have that option to build a coffee-colored version of the standard Galbaldy Beta. What's not to like? Anyway, that is it for the review. If you want one of your own, make sure to check out that link down there in the description. And as always, I'll see you next time.